So in this video we're going to continue looking at exact values, but this time of related angles. And most of this lesson will be focusing on degrees, so we'll be working in degrees for most of this. So at the end of the last lesson I had asked you to learn these exact values, and these will come in very handy for what we're about to do as well. So we also need some revision from last year as well. So here are the sine, cosine and tangent graphs. Now I know I've only used degrees along here, but I've got both degrees and radians here, and you might have remembered looking at the cast diagram last year as well. Now in the first quadrant, that's between 0 and 90 degrees, all of the graphs are positive. So all values of sine, cosine and tangent graphs, functions rather, are all positive between 0 and 90 degrees. If we now look between 90 and 180 degrees, you can see that it's only the sine graph that is positive there. Between 180 and 270, you can see that it's only the tangent graph which is positive there. And you can see, obviously, should have mentioned radians as well there, so that's between pi and 3 pi over 2, it's only the tangent graph which is positive. And finally, between 270 and 360, and that's 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, it's only the cosine graph which is positive there. So that gives us our cast diagram from last year, and if you're not the most familiar with the graphs here, then the cast diagram would obviously be quite useful here as well. So when I'm going through some examples here, I'm going to go through both methods, one using the graphs and two using the cast diagram. So example 1. We want to find the exact value of sine 150 degrees. Now, you might realise that all of the exact values we did, right? We did 0, 90, 180, 270 and 360. And then we put in 30, 45 and 60 into the mix. So you can see here that 150 isn't in any of those values that I have just mentioned. So let's maybe look at a solution to this. We firstly look at the sine graph. Now, here's sine of 150 here. And you might notice that the sine graph, if we just look at it between 0 and 180, it's actually symmetrical. So sine 150 is actually the same as sine 30. So 150 is 30 degrees away from 180, and 30 is 30 degrees away from 0. So those are the same, and we know the value, the exact value for sine 30, that's a half. But just in case you're not very sure of the graphs, let's look at it using the cast diagram as well. So starting at 0 and measuring round 150 degrees brings us to around here approximately. Okay, so there's 150 degrees. Now, using the cast diagram, I'm always going from the horizontal. So how far from the horizontal is 150 degrees? And that is 30 degrees. In the first quadrant, sine is positive. So that tells me that sine 150 is the same as positive sine 30. So it gets me to the same point in my working here. And we know from before that the exact value of sine 30 is a half. So if you pause this video just now and take down this example, that would be good. Okay, welcome back folks. We'll look at another example. So this time we want to find the exact value of tan 120 degrees. And again, you're probably thinking, well, that's not one of the values you gave us. It's not within that. So that's fine. So let's maybe look at the graph of the tangent function and here is tan 120 degrees here. Now, you might notice here that it's the same as tan 60. So 120, 60 degrees from 180, and 60 degrees is obviously 60 on from 0. But the key thing being here that they're on either side of the x-axis, so one is positive and one is negative. So we need to observe that as well. So tan 120 is the same as negative tan 60. Now let's just look at that on the cast diagram so that you're sure. So here's a cast diagram. Now measuring from 0, 120 is up around here. Remember, we always go from the horizontal. So between 120 to 180 is 60 degrees. Now, in that second quadrant there, tan is negative. It's only sine that's positive, remember? So tan is negative in here. So that tells us that tan 120 is the same as negative tan 60, which is what we got from the graph as well. Tan 60 is root 3, so negative tan 60 is negative root 3, and that's our final answer. Again folks, if you pause the video and copy this down into your notes jotter. Okay, and one last example. So example 3, we want to find the exact value of cos 405. Now I did mention similar examples to this in the last video for exact values, just to do with the cycle of the graph repeating itself. So let's have a look here. Here is the cos graph. Now I've put this up between 0 and 720, so you can see there's two cosine waves there, and cos of 405 is here. So if we just have a wee look at that wave as a whole, so between 360 and 720, you can see that actually that is the repetition of the wave between 0 and 360. So cos 405 is actually the same as cos 45. Now we just look at that in the cast diagram as well. Cos 405, well, you can see we go 0 all the way down to 360, so it's going to go further than that. So we can continue the degrees on our cast diagram, but we can hopefully see that 405 should be in here. And away from the horizontal, so 405 minus 360 is 45 degrees. Now in the first quadrant, the cosine function is positive, so therefore cos 405 is equal to cos 45. And cos 45 is 1 over root 2, which is our final answer here. So again, if you pause this before the screen goes blank and copy this down into your notes jotter, and then you can try the assigned exercise for today.